How to argue like Adi Shankara. Prologue: The Boy with the Water Pot. Prologue: The Boy with the Water Pot. In the late summer of 798 of the Common Era, in a Brahmin village in what is today the Indian state of Kerala, an 8-year-old boy walked into a river and announced that a crocodile had hold of his leg. The boy was not lying. There was, by the consistent testimony of the traditional accounts, a crocodile. The crocodile had taken hold of the boy's leg. The boy was therefore in mortal danger, in a manner visible to all the witnesses present, including his mother. What the boy said next is what makes the moment matter. He said, "Mother, the crocodile is going to drag me under. I will die today. Either you grant me permission to renounce the world in this last possible moment, or I will die a householder." His mother, faced with a choice between consenting to her son's unconventional vocation and watching him die in a river, gave consent. The crocodile, by the consistent testimony of the traditional accounts, immediately released the leg. The boy walked out of the river. Within the day, he had begun walking north. The boy was approximately 8. The walk would take him from southwestern India, on foot, with a water pot, across roughly 1,200 kilometers of forested and politically fragmented terrain, to a cave on the south bank of the Narmada River. The cave was called Omkareshwar. Inside it was a teacher named Govinda Bhagavad-pada, the senior surviving disciple of Gaudapada, the senior surviving teacher of the philosophical tradition that had begun with the Upanishadic seers 1,000 years earlier and had developed, by the 8th century, into the school known as Advaita Vedanta. The boy had heard of Govinda. The boy intended to study with him. The boy was, in this intention, 8 years old. He arrived at Omkareshwar approximately 2 years later, by which time he was perhaps 10. He stood at the mouth of the cave. Govinda, by the traditional accounts, looked up and asked the boy a single question. The question was, "Who are you?" The boy did not answer with his name. He did not answer with his lineage. He did not answer with his village or his father's name or his caste or any of the standard categories with which a child of his time and place would have been trained to identify himself in front of a senior figure of the philosophical establishment. He did not say, "I am Shankara from the village of Kaladi," or "I am the son of Shivaguru," or any of the answers the situation would have made conventional. He answered instead in 6 verses. We have these 6 verses. They survive. They are called the Nirvana Shatkam. They are taught in every Advaita curriculum to this day, 1,200 years after the boy at the cave first composed them. They have been recited by tens of millions of practitioners. They are recited every morning, somewhere in the world, by someone who is the inheritor of what happened at that cave. The boy said in succession, "I am not the mind, nor the intellect, nor the ego, nor the memory. I am not the ears, nor the tongue, nor the nose, nor the eyes. I am not the breath, nor the 5 elements, nor the 7 datas, nor the 5 sheaths. I am not the speech, nor the hands, nor the feet, nor the organs of generation and elimination. I have neither aversion nor attachment, neither greed nor delusion. I have neither pride nor envy. I have neither duty nor wealth nor desire nor liberation. I am not action, I am not the experiencer. I have neither birth nor death." And then after this comprehensive subtraction, the 7th verse, "I am the form of consciousness bliss. I am Shiva, I am Shiva." The teacher accepted him as a disciple on the spot. You will notice, perhaps, that the Nirvana Shatkam is technically called the 6-verse liberation, but that the answer is in fact 7 verses if you count the assertion at the end. This is not a clerical error. It is a feature of the form. The first 6 verses are demolition. The 7th verse is what survives the demolition. The genre name commemorates the demolition because the demolition is what makes the 7th verse possible. By the time the 7th verse arrives, no other identification is available. The audience, in this case, the teacher, has watched every alternative answer fall. This is the first great example, in the boy's career, of a technique he would deploy over the next 24 years against opponent after opponent. It has many names. In the Sanskrit tradition, it is called neti neti, not this, not this. In the Greco-Latin rhetorical tradition, it is closely related to elenchus, the Socratic refutation. In the modern dialectical tradition, you may have encountered it as the recursive interrogation. What would have to be true for that to be the case, asked over and over until the foundation is reached or the foundation collapses. The boy at the cave applied the technique to himself. He was asked who he was. He gave 6 answers in the form not this. He reached bedrock. The bedrock was the 7th verse. The teacher initiated him into the order of the Dashanami sannyasis and gave him a new name, Shankara. Among other things, this name means the auspicious one. Among other things, it is a name of Shiva. The 7th verse and the new name commit the same identification. Then the teacher began to teach. We are going to spend a great deal of this book studying the techniques the boy at the cave became fluent in over the years that followed. We will study the way he stated his opponent's positions before refuting them, with a precision and generosity no opponent could escape. We will study the way he set commitment extraction traps in 3 or 4 moves and closed them before his opponents had understood what was happening. We will study the way he used analogies, the rope and the snake, the pot and the clay, the sun and the puddles, that reread everything anyone said for the rest of an encounter. We will study the way he conceded, strategically, costly, publicly, sometimes in front of large audiences, and we will study how the concession functioned as one of the most effective signals in his arsenal. We will study the verses he wrote to immortalize particular encounters, the institutional structures he built to ensure his work would outlive him, and the way he prepared his body and mind in the hours before any debate, so that nothing his opponents did could break his composure. We will study these things the way a young boxer studies the tapes of Mike Tyson at his peak. The analogy is not casual. Tyson is not the only great boxer of his era, and Shankara is not the only great philosopher of his. But Tyson's tapes are studied because they reveal something, a peekaboo defense, a slipping technique, a way of fighting from a body type that was not supposed to be effective at heavyweight. That can be seen most clearly in the fights, and that gets lost in the abstract. D'Amato had taught the principles. Tyson made them visible. Every contemporary heavyweight coach has Tyson tape in the curriculum. Shankara is the equivalent figure for verbal combat. Aristotle wrote down most of the principles in the topics and the sophistical refutations 1200 years before Shankara was born. Cicero refined them 400 years after Aristotle. The Indian dialectical school called Nyaya catalogued them in even greater detail. Schopenhauer, much later, wrote down 38 specific tactics for winning an argument honestly or dishonestly. The principles have been available in writing for most of recorded human history. What has been less available is fight tape. A career to study from start to finish. A body of work that documents not just the fights, but the systematic method behind them. A figure who can be shown to have applied the principles consistently across 2.5 decades of public encounters against opponents who had every incentive to defeat him and to have won. A figure who is also, by the standards of contemporary comparative philosophy, in the top rank of his species. Shankara is the rare figure in whom all 4 conditions are met. The Western canon contains many great philosophers who were not great debaters, many great debaters who left no surviving body of theory, many great writers who were not great in adversarial encounter. The Indian tradition contains other masters, Nagarjuna, Kumarila, Ramanuja, Madhva, who were great in some of these dimensions, but not all of them. Shankara is unusual in combining all 4, a documented career of public encounters, a surviving corpus of texts, a systematic dialectical method that can be reconstructed from the corpus, and a verifiable place in the top rank of world philosophy. So we are going to study his fights. We are going to take this peculiar boy who walked north out of Kerala in 798 CE, and we are going to follow him until he died at Kedarnath in the Himalayas at the age Approximately 32. We are going to look at the documented encounters, the 8-day debate with Mandana Misra at Mahishi, the encounter with the Chandala on the road to the Vishwanath temple, the systematic refutations of opposing schools in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, the four-direction monastery campaign that occupied the last decade of his life, and we are going to identify the moves. We are going to name them. We are going to compare them with the moves of contemporary masters, Lincoln at Freeport, Hitchens at the Monk debate, Reagan at the 1984 debates, Mandela through the long arc, and we are going to demonstrate that the moves still work. We are going to do this for a reason that has nothing to do with religious devotion or cultural appreciation, although both are reasonable. We are going to do this because the techniques transfer. They worked in Sanskrit philosophy in the 8th century. They work in English philosophy in the 21st. They will work for you in your boardroom, in your living room, on your podcast, at the dinner table where the conversation has turned ugly, the next time someone says something to you that requires an answer. We are going to tell them well. We are going to tell them in such a way that you can use the moves on Tuesday morning in a meeting that matters to your career, and on Friday evening at a dinner table where the conversation has turned ugly, and on Saturday afternoon when a stranger online has decided you need correcting. We are going to tell them in such a way that you finish the book equipped, not informed but equipped, to walk into any debate, on any topic, with the confidence that you have the arsenal to win it cleanly, and the discipline to walk away when winning is the wrong move. You will know by the end of this book what it feels like to fight from the stance Shankara fought from. You will be able to identify, in real time and within seconds, which game you are in and which moves it admits. You will recognize the standard kinds of attack the moment they begin and execute the 6-stage cascade that defeats them. You will set commitment extraction traps in 3 questions. You will set the prior in 90 seconds. You will concede with such precision that the concession will be the strongest move you make in the encounter. You will also know when not to fight. The Manisha Panchakam, the 5 verses Shankara composed on the road to the Vishwanath temple after he was out-argued by an outcast, will be the ethical anchor of everything we teach. We are training fighters, not bullies. The Chandala on the road is the reason this book is not a manipulation manual. We will return to him often. That is the book. We begin in the cave at Omkareshwar and we end at the cave at Omkareshwar, and between the two we walk the subcontinent.